Newsroom, right? But he doesn't have it. But you look at that train, it's going to cost him. Republicans have voted 14 times to fund the government. And it's time for Chuck Schumer, crying Chuck. Remember he started crying at the airplanes? They were the worst forced tears. I've known him all his life. He's never cried. But he broke down in tears. He was so devastated. He didn't know why he was crying, but he just thought it was good to do. His people told him this was a good time to cry. Crying Chuck. But it's time for Chuck Schumer and the radical Democrat Congress to stop playing games with the people's lives and to pass a clean funding bill that they've done 30 times before. And to reopen government immediately. Just reopen it. They don't like it to be reopened because we're setting records. They think actually, I don't think anything's going to hurt. We are so strong now that I'm not sure that anything's going to hurt. But it would be good to open it up. Take care of the people with jobs that aren't going to get paid and aren't getting paid. And no matter what, we will not let them impose their inflation-causing extremism on the American people. We're not going to pay $1.5 billion for people that came into our country illegally, okay? If you don't mind. That's what they did last time. Remember the Inflation Reduction Act? The greatest scam, one of the greatest scams. I would say some of their environmental scams were even bigger, but one of the greatest scams ever, Inflation Reduction Act. And then they admitted it had nothing to do with inflation reduction, remember? But it did actually caused massive inflation. It actually caused massive inflation. But we don't use auto pens in the Trump administration to sign things. We don't believe in that. You know, I get these guys come in with these big, beautiful documents, gorgeous, beautiful, must cost a fortune. I should check the price. But, you know, a general is being made or something, you know, some big post. And they say, sir, would you sign this, please? It's going to be a 4-star general, or it's going to be a big cabinet position, or it's going to be something with medical or whatever. I take my pen and I sign it. In his case, they walk it into a room and they give it to somebody who's no idea who Biden is. But Biden doesn't have any idea who he is either. And they have a machine sign it, the auto pen. And all of the pardons, he gave thousands of pardons to people. He had no idea about it. He didn't know about it. And therefore, all those pardons are void. You know, you have to have, it's a very complicated thing if you're going to use a machine. You have to do it properly. And he didn't have any idea what was happening. And this is what we had as a president. We don't want that. You have the opposite right now. I don't want to be braggadocious, but you have the exact, I know exactly what's happened. If you want to see what congressional Democrats wish to do to America, just look at the result of yesterday's election in New York, where their party installed a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation. Remember, I've said we will never have a socialist elected to any post in our country. I used to say that, and I was right. We skipped socialist and we put in a communist instead. That didn't work out too well. But as I've warned for many years, our opponents are hell-bent on turning America into a communist Cuba or socialist Venezuela, and you see what happened to those places. For generations, Miami has been a haven for those fleeing communist tyranny in South Africa. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on in parts of South Africa, look at South Africa, what's going on. Look at South America, what's going on. You know, I'm not going to, we have a G20 meeting in South Africa. South Africa shouldn't even be in the Gs anymore because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told them I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there. It shouldn't be there. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of South America. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of the world. But now the Democrats are so extreme that Miami will soon be the refuge for those fleeing communism in New York City. They flee. They flee. Where do you live? New York City, but I'm trying to leave because I don't want to live in a communist regime. I hope it works out for New York. I love New York. I love New York. When I left New York for the White House, it was good, except we had, you know, the telltale signs of trouble because we had a guy named de Blasio. Do you ever hear of him as mayor? He goes down as probably the worst mayor in history. Then he went to Harvard to teach government. Do you believe it? They took de Blasio, and they took that mayor from Chicago, the woman The one that gets her hair done very expensively, right? Beautiful hair. She got beautiful, luxuriant hair. And they took her, and she's teaching at Harvard. They're teaching government. And then you hear about Harvard. We're trying to work a settlement with Harvard right now for about, like, a lot of money. I won't tell you what, but you'll be reading about it pretty soon. Because what they've done to Jewish people and what they've done to others is pretty bad, I'll tell you. It's pretty bad. Going to cost them a lot of money. After last night's results, the decision facing all Americans could not be more clear. We have a choice between communism and common sense. Does that make sense to you? Common sense. It's common sense or communism. And you know, you take a look back 1,000 years, it hasn't worked. If it worked, we'd be using it, I guess, but it hasn't worked. Our opponents are offering an economic nightmare. We're delivering an economic miracle. We have delivered in 9 months, this is the biggest investment of funds in a country in history by many times. That's good. They want higher spending for government and illegal aliens. We want bigger paychecks for American workers and American families, and that's what we're delivering. You see that. They stand for crime and chaos and corruption. We stand for law and order and justice. Also, strong borders. Boy, do we have strong borders. They put America last. We put America first. We put America first. And as long as I'm in the White House, the United States is not going communist in any way, shape, or form. We'll stop it. We're going to stop it. Stop this nonsense. You know, I said they were voting last night. You can have a communist or a thug. A communist, and they took the communist, you know. It's pretty amazing. We could have done a little better in terms of candidates. From day one of my administration, I've been fighting every single day to turn around the catastrophe we inherited to make America the best place on the planet Earth to do business. And that's what it is. Right now, we're the #1 place. I'm getting plants approved in 2 weeks. It used to take 20 years before they got rejected. You'd have young people start off. Their whole business was getting a certain plant accepted. 22 years later, they're ready to retire, and they haven't gotten it. And then they go to a vote, and they get rejected after 22. They wasted a whole life looking for an acceptance. We do it in 2 weeks. We make sure it's good. We make sure it's great and proper, environmentally sound. It takes 2 weeks. My goal is to have the best tax rates, the lowest energy cost, the lowest regulatory burden, the most advanced technology, and the fairest trade deals anywhere in the world. You know, we're leading China. We're leading everybody by a lot in AI. And this was my idea, so I'm very proud of it. I said, build your own electric. People would come. We need more electric grid, sir. The electric grid's 200 years old. We need more electric grid. It's old. The electricity that the AI plants need alone is double the entire electricity that we have in the country right now. Can you believe it? So I had this idea. I said, we can't fix the old grid that much. We'll fix it up. We'll keep it going. A little Band-Aid here, a little Band-Aid there. It's old. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let these geniuses build their own electric generation. So they are building their own electric utility plants. They become a utility, if you think about it. They're building the utility and the electric right alongside. This is where they have their transformers and everything. They're building the most expensive electric plants you've ever seen, generating plants. Some by nuclear, some by oil and gas, some by coal as a substitute. They're building them right next to their plant, and they're incredible. People say they've never seen anything like it because these minds are genius. To them, an electric plant is not complicated. To them, an electric plant is better than the people that produce electricity, although Florida Power and Light is doing a lot of plants for people. They're pretty advanced, I have to tell you. But they're building their own juice next to the plant. Isn't that sort of a cool idea? And you know, when I first proposed that, they came into my office with, you know, they have unlimited money, but they were trying to figure out how they can build it because they had no electric of any consequence. And I said, you're going to build your own plant. I'm going to get you your approvals in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month if I'm slow. We have a great man, Lee Zeldin, in charge of the environment. He's incredible. And he's tough, too. He's very tough. But they have their approval in 2-3 weeks. You know, they're dealing with the best experts in the world. They know what they're doing. It's amazing when you see some of the stuff come in, designed by guys with 190 IQs, and then you have an inspector who's not quite as smart as that, inspecting it to see whether or not it's okay. And he has no idea what he's looking at. No idea. But I said, you're designing your own electric plant. And they didn't believe it. They come in 2 weeks later, they say, the biggest problem is electric. I said, you can design your own plant. And we're going to have your approvals within 2 to 4 weeks. And they said, he's really serious about it. They thought I was kidding. It was so good, they couldn't believe it. They'd leave and they couldn't believe it. It took me 2 or 3 times to say it. Yeah, they're designing their own electric plants, and it's unbelievable. And then they're going to sell their excess electricity back into the grid. So we benefit in that way, too. In July, I proudly signed into law the largest tax cuts in American history. Now, that's the second time. I did it the first time, but these are even larger, the great, big, beautiful bill. And that includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, no tax on Social Security. I wonder which is the most popular of the no tax on tips. You know, I was in Nevada, in my building in Las Vegas, and I had this beautiful young waitress come up to me. I never talk about beauty anymore because politically, if you mention somebody's beautiful, that's the end of your political career. So I don't mention that she was beautiful, but she was beautiful. And she came up and I said, how you doing? Oh, sir, I'm not doing well. The government is horrible on tips. I said, really? How do they tax? They tax tips? They tax us and they go after us. I've never seen anything like it. It's made my life miserable. Sir, there should be no tax on tips. She said to me, no tax on tips. I said, say it again. She said, sir, there should be no tax on tips. So we had a lot of the fake news waiting for me outside of the restaurant. So I went out and I said, ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. There will be no tax on tips. That's how it all started. And I won Nevada. I won Nevada. Because, you know, in Nevada, every job is basically, you know, you're a waitress or you're working in a hotel. No, that's how it started. So it was amazing. We won Nevada easily, which is usually not a stronghold for Republicans, but it's become a stronghold. So I want to thank the waitress. She did a great job. But when she said those words, sir, there should be no tax on tips, it's amazing. Somebody else would hire a consultant, pay them millions and millions of dollars. They'll come back. And they'll say, sir, I think you should absolutely tax tips. And you'll lose the election. But we also have 100% expensing for all new factories, plants, and equipment so your businesses can write it off all in 1 year. And that's a lot of jobs you're doing and producing. That was, to me, the biggest thing in the first bill. But this is even better because this goes for a 10-year period. Upon taking office, I signed an executive order requiring that every new regulation, every time we issue a new regulation, think of this, 10 old regulations must be eliminated simultaneously. So if we give you one, you get rid of 10. And so far, for 9 months, we're exceeding that. And it's 30 to 1. For every new one we give, they're getting rid of 30 old, broken down regulations. And we've slashed nearly $1 trillion worth of regulatory burdens. We have regulations that are so old and nobody uses them, but they stymied a lot of production, a lot of jobs. And I did it the first time, and we had the largest regulation cuts in history, and now we're exceeding it this time. So it's big. It's one of the reasons we did so well then, and I think it's one of the reasons we're doing so well now. Again, we have to talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, nobody else, the fake news, is not going to talk about it. And we have streamlined permitting for the new energy and mining projects. What used to take decades now takes 28 days. And on day one, I signed an executive order to unleash American energy and officially terminate the Green New Scam. Has anyone ever heard of the Green New Scam? Remember the old thing, global warming, and then it would be too cool? And then they said global cool. They didn't know what the hell to say. So they came up with the greatest, climate change. No matter what, if it goes up, if it goes down, climate change. They're very, very smart people, but not smart for us. They're smart for them. But my policy was very simple. Drill, baby, drill. We're drilling like crazy right now. And to curb inflation, we've slashed the size of government for the first time in years, and we're waging total war on waste, fraud, and abuse like we've never done before. Since January, 100,000 bureaucrats have left the federal payroll. Government spending is down 2.5% this quarter compared to 1 year ago. Think of that. And in stark contrast to last administration, 100% of all new jobs created in America under my administration have been created in the private sector. 100% of the jobs have come from the private sector. Otherwise, you don't have a country. I mean, I love government workers, but if you have all government workers, you don't have a country, do you? At the same time, my tariffs are bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars and are helping slash the deficit this year by more than 50%. Did you see the numbers? We're going to be down 50%, anywhere from 25 to 50, but closer to 50%. Who would think of that one? Those are big numbers. Now, take that out 2 or 3 years. To embrace a vital industry here in Miami, I've also signed historic executive orders to end the federal government's war on crypto. Crypto was under siege. It's not under siege anymore because it's a big industry. It's a big industry, and I have a lot of people that are great people, great business people. They're in other businesses, but they're in crypto too. And it takes a lot of the pressure off the dollar. It does a lot of good things, but we're into it. Biden was vicious on crypto. They were going after these crypto guys. It was terrible. They were under indictment, but I got indicted too. I made a phone call. Congratulations on your victory. He made a phone call. Let's indict him. These people are the worst. Then they say, he's gone after Comey. They indicted me. They impeached me. They did everything. It's unbelievable. Who the hell else could have taken that? Do you guys know anybody else that could have taken it? I don't think so. A lot of people say, you're the only one could have taken that. I don't know if that's true, but there aren't too many. We're making the United States the Bitcoin superpower, the crypto capital of the world, and the undisputed leader in artificial intelligence. We're leading China by a lot. Don't forget, if we don't do the crypto properly, China wants to do it. They're starting it, but they want to do it. Other countries want to do it. If we don't do it, it's a big industry. We're honored to be joined today by a man who has been a true champion for many of these bold policies. He really has. He's been a great guy. He was a little late in his endorsement of me, I'll be honest with you. He endorsed me. You know, these guys that endorsed me after I won, I don't know. Sir, I'd like to endorse you. No, I won the election. Nah, he's a good man, actually. I've known him a long time. He's helped turn the area into one of the hottest markets in the country and one of the greatest cities in the world. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. Please, Francis, come up, please.
You're never gonna let me forget that one, huh?
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a little shorter than you are. Oh, it's truly a great honor to be here with you this afternoon and to have you here once again in the great city of Miami. Your leadership and your vision have shaped not only our nation, but also the future of our city. Miami's success today is rooted in the values that are deeply American: opportunity, freedom, safety, and innovation. These are values that you have championed with conviction, and they are the same values that have made Miami a symbol of what's possible.
And you're just watching now President Trump speaking at the America Business Forum, touting his administration's economic achievements. And speaking about yesterday's election results, President Trump said America is faced with this decision: communism or common sense. All right, moving on. After winning the New York City mayoral race, Zohran Mamdani said he will announce members of his new administration soon. Here's more from his press conference today in Queens.
Last night, we made history. I'm so proud to be standing here today as the mayor-elect of the greatest city in the world. Over 2 million New Yorkers cast their ballots. Whether they were the more than million who supported this campaign or the others who supported someone else, or whether they felt too disappointed by the political process to participate at all. I will work every day to honor the trust that I now hold.
Mamdani said over the coming days he will announce roles including deputy mayors and commissioners. They will carry out the critical work of city agencies and oversee entire areas of government. Mamdani also announced 5 women who will serve on his transition team. They include his campaign advisor, who will be the executive director. The transition team members have worked under the previous 3 mayors. Mamdani promised to build an administration that is capable, compassionate, driven by integrity, and willing to work hard. He said he is willing to work with Mayor Eric Adams to ensure a smooth transition. A number of Jewish organizations are reacting to the election of Zohran Mamdani as the next mayor of New York City. The UJA Federation of New York issued a statement expressing its concerns. The federation said, quote, "We recognize that voters are animated by a range of issues, but we cannot ignore that the mayor-elect holds core beliefs fundamentally at odds with our community's deepest convictions and most cherished values." The coalition said it will continue to work to ensure the city's Jewish community and all communities feel safe and respected. The organization added, quote, "Our agenda remains clear. We will hold all elected officials, including Mayor-elect Mamdani, fully accountable for ensuring that New York remains a place where Jewish life and support for Israel are protected and can thrive." In his victory speech last night, Mamdani appeared to respond to concerns within the Jewish community, saying, quote, "We will build a city hall that stands steadfast alongside Jewish New Yorkers and does not waver in the fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism." New Jersey Democrat Mikey Sherrill is celebrating victory after defeating Republican Jack Ciattarelli in the governor's race. The Congresswoman turned governor-elect told supporters in East Brunswick last night she's ready to take action on one of the campaign's biggest issues, the state's soaring utility costs.
I've spoken with thousands of you over this last year. I know your struggles. I know your hopes. I know your dreams. So serving you is worth any tough fight I have to take on, and I am incredibly honored to be your next governor. So I'm going to declare a state of emergency on day 1 to drive down your utility costs.
Sherrill also plans to support new nuclear projects, modernizing natural gas infrastructure, and expanding new solar and battery storage projects. She thanked her opponent, Jack Ciattarelli, and recognized him for, in her words, stepping up after she received a phone call from him. Meanwhile, in his concession speech, Ciattarelli promised that work in New Jersey is not done after losing the governor's race. We now go to NTD's Washington correspondent, Mari Otsu, who brings us more from the Ciattarelli Watch Party in Bridgewater, New Jersey, as well as President Trump's comments on the Republican losses on election night.
I thank all of you. I love you. The fight doesn't end. We fight for another day, but let us continue to do all that we can to fix the state that we all love. I know you do too. That's why you're here tonight.
GOP candidate Jack Ciattarelli says that the fight must continue after losing the New Jersey governor's race to Democrat Mikey Sherrill.
New Jersey's been home for 100 years, and it will continue to be my home. And I look forward to seeing you all and working together once again to make sure that we effectuate the kind of change we so desperately need here in this state that we also love so very, very much. Guys, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you.
At the top of his concession speech, made to a ballroom packed with his supporters, Ciattarelli announced that he'd called Sherrill to congratulate her. Some supporters told NTD that they still had fight left in them, while others weighed moving from New Jersey, saying God had forsaken their state.
I mean, she wants abortion at any stage, no restrictions, right up to the last day, even as suggested after birth. She wants taxpayers to pay for it. I do not want my tax dollars being used to finance infanticide, being used to finance murder.
No more sanctuary city, any city in New Jersey. Cops will not be handcuffed anymore.
The taxes are ridiculous, property taxes, energy costs, and I am so sick of having to buy my grocery bags. I got a closet full of them.
While Ciattarelli lost the governor's race, Republican Assemblyman Mike Inganamort won his bid for a second term in Tuesday's election and told NTD,
But regardless, we have a duty in the legislature, and if we are going to be working with Mikey Sherrill as our governor, you bet we're going to hold her accountable.
President Trump, meanwhile, who endorsed Chitterelli, reacts to Democrats' projected election night wins, saying that Republicans lost the elections because of the government shutdown and because his name wasn't on the ticket. Reporting from Bridgewater, New Jersey, Mario Tsu, NTD News.
And the races are in Virginia. Democrats retake the governor's mansion and several other key positions. NTD's Jack Bradley has more from Virginia Beach.
Virginia has chosen its new leadership. Behind me is where Republican incumbent Attorney General Jason Miyares conceded to his Democrat challenger Jay Jones. This was the closest race in the state. Miyares touted his success as Attorney General in cracking down on crime and fentanyl, and he wished Jay Jones success as the next Attorney General.
I wish Jay Jones the best in this new job. I know given the circumstances of the last 6 weeks, many of my supporters will find that difficult. But the reason I wish Jay the best is because we, the people of Virginia, need it. We need an Attorney General who will focus every day on keeping us safe. And it's my sincere hope that Jay does that.
The crowd here just shocked.
You know, this was a race about decency. The whole country was watching, and this was a test for Virginia to elect a Attorney General that stood for core values that we understood. And I think we're seeing a shift.
Now, Democrat Abigail Spanberger won the governor's race. She beat out her Republican challenger, the current Lieutenant Governor, Winsome Earl Sears. Virginia has for decades voted for a governor from the opposite party of the president. Spanberger is a 3-term congresswoman and former CIA officer, and she ran on anti-DOGE cuts and anti-tariffs.
I also know that those who were supporting my opponent are disappointed today. And to those Virginians who did not vote for me, I want you to know that my goal and my intent is to serve all Virginians.
I want to thank you because you believed in me, you who voted for me and who worked so hard to make our dream for Virginia come true. I still want to continue to thank God for this journey and His grace that brought me again to this wonderful country, this wonderful Commonwealth.
In the lieutenant governor race, the race has been called for Democrat state lawmaker Ghazala Hashmi over her Republican opponent, talk show host John Reed. Now, this comes after the Virginia Senate on Friday voted to give the state legislature the power to redraw congressional districts. This would go before voters next year if it clears the next procedural votes. This passed on party lines with Democrats in support and Republicans against in Virginia. And this comes amid a wave of redistricting fights across the country seeking to claim more congressional seats for their own party. Reporting from Virginia Beach, Jack Bradley, NTD News.
California voters approved a plan yesterday to redraw the state's congressional map in Democrats' favor. Governor Gavin Newsom celebrated the news.
But what a night for the Democratic Party. A party that is in its ascendancy. A party that's on its toes, no longer on its heels. From coast to coast, sea to shining sea. But it was not just a victory tonight for the Democratic Party, it was a victory for the United States of America, for the people of this country.
The approval of Proposition 50 gives Democrats a shot at winning as many as 5 additional House seats. That's just enough to blunt Texas Republicans' move to redraw their own maps to pick up 5 GOP seats. The measure was spearheaded by Newsom. Former President Barack Obama urged voters to pass it as well. Congressional district boundaries are typically redrawn every 10 years to reflect population shifts documented in the census. Mid-decade redistricting is unusual, except when a court order finds fault with the maps that are in place. Following the results, Californian Republicans vowed the fight is not over.
This fight is not over. It's just started. But that's going to leave this conversation wide open for Republicans to come in and not only remind people of the problems that California is dealing with, the crime, the Prop 36 still going unfunded, even though the voters voted for it, kitchen table issues, the homeless problem that Gavin Newsom promised to solve when he was mayor of San Francisco that still hasn't been solved. We're going to be pointing all of those issues out, and we're going to be taking our message directly to the people of California.
Voters in Minneapolis have re-elected their mayor for a third time. The AP is calling the race in favor for Jacob Frey. He beat out a large pool of candidates that included State Senator Omar Fateh. Minneapolis uses ranked choice voting to pick its mayor. And how it works is if a candidate does not clear the threshold in the first round, the ones with the lowest votes are dropped for the next round. The process is then repeated. Frey won in the final round. This will be his third term. Coming up, what pushed New Yorkers to choose a Democratic socialist for mayor? We have analysis on that and more news right after this quick break.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Gyeong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
So at the age of 5, I was sexually molested. I had my first child at the age of 15 and became homeless at the age of 16. The scariest part about not having a place to live was having a child and not having a place to live and not knowing where our meal was going to come from and where we're going to sleep. To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them. 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference, Covenant House.
Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis.
It was pretty tough. But Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life. They gave me the love that I needed. They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
Your $19 monthly gift is urgently needed to reach other young people who are facing unimaginable situations. Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible. Thank you for caring.
Mix Fix is a custom formulated, full-spectrum organic detox product to achieve better health and overall function. It's not just the longevity of life, but quality of life. There are other products out there, but they lack the quality that Mix Fix provides. Detoxifying your body 3 to 4 times per year may be the single most important thing you can do, and our detox mix was designed specifically to do it and do it right. Just scan the QR code and detox your body today.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
Next, an analysis of Zohran Mamdani's mayoral win and why New York has opted for a Democratic Socialist mayor. Joining us to discuss this is Carrie Smith, the host of the YouTube show Deprogrammed with Carrie Smith. So Carrie, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's just start here. Your thoughts on why Zohran Mamdani won the mayoral race in New York?
A couple of reasons. First of all, it is New York City, so we're talking about a very leftist city to begin with. The second reason is because people are struggling. His number one message in the campaign was affordability, and that's the thing young people, Generation Z and millennials are most concerned about, I think. And so when you become very desperate, sometimes you tend to move towards radicalism. You'll take any kind of, hope. Hope was a big part of his platform, right?
Do you think, this choice for Mamdani, right, a democratic socialist, do you think it is tied to the rise in support of socialism that we've seen in the U.S., especially among younger generations?
Yes, because unfortunately, in part because of our failed public school system, a lot of people in America don't know enough about the history of socialism. So we don't have direct experience with it. And I think for young people, the polls you're talking about are very alarming because a lot of young people are more favorable towards socialism than they are towards capitalism. And so in some ways, I almost think what's happened here in New York, this might be a very tragic future for New York City, but one that gives people an accurate idea of how socialism works in their lifetime, to see it in front of them.
And can you talk to us about how you feel faith plays into this, whether it's socialism or communism?
Yeah, so everybody believes in something. Everybody has faith in something. And I'm a Christian, and I'm a relatively new Christian within the past 8 years or so. And if you don't have a faith in God, if you don't have a faith in something that's bigger than yourself, your own ability to reason, that's bigger than the government, then you tend to put your faith in other things. And I think a lot of people on the left put their faith in government. They put their faith in government to fix their problems, government to make them happy. We've started to see tweets from politicians about how, we love you, we see you, like this sort of weird, validating kind of message. I don't need the government to tell me they love me, So I think for some people, because of a lack of faith in a creator, they've started to put that faith into institutions that are not going to be able to give you what a belief in God would give you.
And perhaps this is not a coincidence, but in countries where they use socialism or communism, you see that it's a rather not very faithful society. So I'm wondering if there's a correlation between that, a decrease in faith and a tendency to support socialism or communism.
Yes, when you say not a very faithful society, do you mean in terms of being able to see how that affects people's morality? Because I think without a faith in God, like we tend towards our baser nature. And so we start to see that in the culture, and we've certainly seen that coinciding with this support, this growing support for socialism among young people. We've also seen this growing trend towards degeneracy.
Right, I'm just thinking as an example, China under the Chinese Communist Party's control. Mm-hmm. The CCP sees itself essentially above God.
Yes.
Right? And then it imposes that ideology down to the people. And then it has a tremendous impact on people's morality. The Chinese people's morality. So that's sort of what I'm getting at here. But I also wanted to ask you, Carrie, you were once a self-described social justice warrior, and over the years, we've seen a fusion of socialism and woke ideology like DEI, for example, and critical race theory. Why are more young Americans in particular drawn to these ideas?
Yeah, I was in what I call the woke cult or the social justice cult for 20 years. One reason is that we have become disconnected from a belief in our creator, and so people are looking for something to fill that role, and a lot of young people are picking it up in academia or even now in K through 12 education. So I picked it up in, I'm quite a bit older than you, I picked it up at college.
I look young, but perhaps I'm a little bit older than you think. But anyways.
But I picked it up at college, so I was indoctrinated at Duke University in the late 90s, and at that time it wasn't in K through 12 yet, but it was in the university system. And looking back on it, I'm able to see that the beliefs, I was being taught what to think, not how to think. And the beliefs that I picked up at university very much functioned kind of like a religion, in that woke ideology gives young people a sense of, it's like, this is how you are a good person and this is how to be a bad person. And it has a whole list of rules and tenets and beliefs that they all adopt. And what we see with some of these woke beliefs, like a belief in pushing racism and sexism with DEI, is that they are using the government. This is where the socialism part comes in, is they are using the government to now push their faith, to push their woke beliefs. That's one of the biggest reasons I ended up voting for Trump in the past 2 elections, which I never thought I would vote for a Republican, but I ended up voting for Trump, is because he eventually came out very strongly against using public taxpayer dollars to indoctrinate children and young people with these racist ideas, with these sexist ideas, with this upside down morality.
So Carrie, why do you think people keep wanting to try socialism? Because if we look into history, socialism, communism, it's never worked, and we've seen that repeatedly throughout history, and we don't have to look far back either. So why do you think people they keep wanting to try this? Because just a couple decades ago, we've seen socialism fail. Does it actually change, or is it different this time? Is it rebranded, or is it the same?
One, which we've touched on already, is our public school systems are failing. So people do not know history. I went to a great school and I didn't know history. I wasn't given an accurate understanding of world history. So the other thing is that people don't read. Young people are not reading. If you look at the literacy rates, which are declining for high school graduates, there's a reason why, unless they have direct experience with it, they're not learning about it in school, they're not reading, and so unless they have direct experience with it, it sounds very good, right? Everything's free. We're going to give you everything for free. I mean, that sounds amazing. Of course, people get excited about that.
Yeah, and I was just talking to some guests before yesterday. Nothing is free.
Nothing's free.
Nothing's free. People who provide a service, they deserve to be paid. People who work, they deserve to be paid. So that money is going to come from somewhere. You can tax the rich more. That's some of the arguments being made by Mamdani as well, I think. So that leads to my next question here. We've seen how real issues like workplace abuse and segregation can be used by socialists and Marxists to push an agenda for structural, like between the rich and the poor, right? And whites and blacks, for example. And socialist policies often target the wealthy for simply having more money or property, and Mamdani wants to increase taxes on them. Are you concerned that this issue could escalate over time into a more severe form of discrimination?
I am, because what it is you're creating a scapegoat, and you're saying the reason for your position in life is because of this group here. And when you do that, you're kind of fueling people's resentment, and you're taking away their belief in their own ability to affect the changes they want to see in their life. And so the other thing is that scapegoat group, if you look at history, continues to broaden. Okay, so it starts off with billionaires, then millionaires, then, the standard of living here in the United States, a lot of these people, the leftists, have not traveled outside of the US. We live like royalty. I mean, we have compared to some parts of the world. And so to some people, you are the billionaire class. Do you know what I mean? Like we have, we have running water, we have electricity,
things we take granted.
The things we take for granted, exactly. And so that scapegoat group always gets bigger. And the other thing is that it's not just that with socialism, as you said, nothing is free, right? Somebody's going to pay for it. But often they don't, what they're doing by putting all the focus on taxing the rich is they're obfuscating the fact that you are going to pay for it too. In a variety of ways, like, and if you don't pay for it, your children are going to pay for it, because what we see over and over again with socialism is that it leads to food shortages. When you put the government in control of these things and freezing rent and taking over the means of production, that the average person ends up paying for it. You don't end up in a better place. Maybe you bring everybody down to where you're at, or worse.
Yeah, and it destroys incentives as well. If they're telling you your best is not going to be rewarded, then you won't try your best, right? And that's one of the shortcomings of putting a higher tax on the rich. Then you just lose the incentive to try your best, I think.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Just this year, I didn't know about the history of the income tax, for example, in the U.S., and I was reading some of the history about when they instituted the income tax here in America. And I think it was around 1914 or 1919. And at the time, the politicians were promising the American people, look, we're going to start taxing your income. It's never going to go above 1%. And now that seems so crazy knowing where it's at today. So this whole idea of like, once you open the door to these things to not being able to keep the fruits of your labor, it seems like they continue to take more and more of it.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to wrap up here, but I want to ask you one more question. What would you say could help to bring more about constructive solutions that uphold the equality and freedom of our founding fathers and what they envisioned?
A better education. And so what I tell parents, I talk to a lot of parents about their kids who are about to go off to college or they're at that age, about what's happening at the universities with woke indoctrination. And my advice recently has been, be very careful about what college you're sending your kids to. There's a great one that I recommend usually is Hillsdale. But especially for parents who have younger children, take them out of the public schools. I wouldn't trust you're sending them to the government to indoctrinate them. So I would say find a way to, either homeschool or find a classical school, a private school, a Christian school. If you look at the SAT scores and the literacy rates for publicly educated young people versus those who are being homeschooled and in these private alternatives, the public school is failing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're so right about education. It could really solve a lot of problems in our society if we just tell our next generation what is correct, what is the right thing to do, and what is the wrong thing to do, and give them a sense of morality, a moral compass. I think that would really do society well, and it could solve a lot of issues. Well, Carrie, it was such a pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a short break now. At least 9 people are dead after a cargo plane crashed near Louisville's Muhammad Ali International Airport. What officials are saying about the disaster as an investigation is being launched. Stay tuned.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first-round draft pick, on and off the field. We were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating, but I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Or how did I get here?
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
A state of emergency declared in Kentucky after a UPS cargo plane crashed near Louisville Airport. Governor Andy Beshear shared an update.
Continue to search that site, hope and pray for the best, but know there may be more loss of life that we're going to learn about today. 2 businesses were directly impacted: Kentucky Petroleum Recycling and Grade A Auto Parts. Thankfully, a local restaurant that is right there that we had great concern would be impacted and we would lose whoever was in it, was missed and now is helping the search and rescue.
At least 9 people were killed when a UPS cargo plane crashed shortly after takeoff yesterday evening. It left a fiery trail of destruction. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said the radius for the shelter in place around the crash has been reduced, but people living in the immediate area are being told not to drink the water. Beshear also said he declared a state of emergency to speed up resources for victims and responders. The governor said he expects the death toll to grow by at least 1. He added that authorities searching the site do not expect to find any survivors today. Beshear and the mayor of Louisville plan to tour the crash site. The NTSB arrived this morning with a team of about 30 people on the ground to launch its investigation. The discovery of childlike explicit dolls on Shein's website on Saturday fueled an outcry. Shein said it had sanctioned the sellers and implemented a full ban on explicit dolls. Now the Chinese fast fashion giant is opening its first permanent store in Paris today, sparking strong opposition from French designers, lawmakers, and store owners. Some experts say Shein is using its partnership with a French store as a stepping stone for its global expansion strategy. NTD international correspondent David Vaz reports from Paris.
The opening of spaces dedicated to Shein in the BHV store is taking France's fashion world by storm. The Chinese brand accused of supporting pedocriminality on Monday after authorities found childlike sex dolls for sale on its platform is also facing backlash from fashion labels. Around a dozen French brands present at the BHV said they would leave the store in protest over Shein's arrival. The government also withdrawn its funding from the society managing the BHV. A small group of protesters, including fashion designers, gathered outside the BHV department store in central Paris on Wednesday. Demonstrators held signs reading "Shame on Shein," denouncing what they called the company's unethical business practices. For Fashion Association Vice President Céline Dupuis, this might change the face of the fashion world.
It's a major shift. Shein started online, and now it's moving into the heart of Paris, right across from City Hall. To me, it's a threat to democracy. Their approach is aggressive, manipulative on social media, and toxic, both in how they sell clothes and how they push people into overconsumption.
Shein stands for everything we don't like in terms of textile composition, manufacturing, and distribution. Its products, how to say it. They're poor quality, certainly cheap, but they won't last. My generation and that of my grandmothers prefer a quality item that would last over time. These are my values, what I created my brand on.
The partnership between BHV and Shein comes as BHV faces significant financial losses, according to its management company. This includes months-long delays in paying salaries to some employees.
I spoke with BHV workers yesterday. They are all very worried about their jobs, since Mr. Merlin, the current owner of the store, has stopped paying the brands that have been established for 6 months. So it's very dangerous for the security of the people who work at BHV and for the brands. I would like to add that this is one country that created fashion to begin with. We must speak out against this Shein presence in stores because we don't hold the same values as they do. Remember, childlike sex dolls have been found on the Chinese website, and now we found that we can also order bladed weapons too.
The BHV is now at the center of a backlash spanning politics, fashion brands, and store owners. The Federation of Paris Grand Stores has voted unanimously to exclude BHV after its partnership with Shein. Amid the controversy, Shein told CNN that its adult products category has been removed entirely, while a review of its screening procedures is carried out. And France's Prime Minister today suspended access to Shein's online platform in France until the company proves that its content complies with French law. France's Minister of Trade addressed Parliament today over another serious finding, the sale of weapons by Shein, including one that was recovered in a murder investigation.
Too much is too much. After the sex dolls scandal, now the weapons. I've been talking to Minister of Interior, and we found out that a weapon used to kill a 14-year-old boy named Elias in Paris in January this year was purchased via Shein.
The trade minister said the case of Shein would be closely investigated by France's administration. Shein pop-up spaces are expected to open stores later this year in 5 other French cities. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Hungary says the country's prime minister is set to travel to Washington this week to meet with President Trump. We have more news after this break.
So at the age of 5, I was sexually molested. I had my first child at the age of 15 and became homeless at the age of 16. The scariest part about not having a place to live was having a child and not having a place to live and not knowing where our meal was going to come from and where we're going to sleep. To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them. 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference, Covenant House.
Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis.
It was pretty tough. But Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life, They gave me the love that I needed. They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
Your $19 monthly gift is urgently needed to reach other young people who are facing unimaginable situations. Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible. Thank you for caring.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump speaks at the America Business Forum in Miami. We'll let you know what his reactions are for last night's election results. President Trump delivered remarks at a breakfast with Republican senators today. He urged lawmakers to end the filibuster. The president commented on yesterday's elections, the government shutdown, and other topics. The Supreme Court is listening to arguments today over whether the president has the authority to impose sweeping tariffs. Several justices have expressed skepticism. In his victory speech, Mamdani emphasized a mandate for change. We discussed his win with a legal analyst. Hungary says the country's prime minister is set to travel to Washington this week to meet with President Trump. The topics the two are set to discuss.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
And thank you for staying with us. President Trump reacting to the results of yesterday's mayoral election in New York City. Here's the president speaking at the America Business Forum in Miami today.
After last night's results, the decision facing all Americans could not be more clear. We have a choice between communism and common sense. Does that make sense to you? Common sense. It's common sense or communism. And you know, you take a look back 1,000 years, it hasn't worked. If it worked, we'd be using it, I guess, but it hasn't worked. Our opponents are offering an economic nightmare. We're delivering an economic miracle. And as long as I'm in the White House, the United States is not going communist in any way, shape, or form. We'll stop it. We're going to stop it. Stop this nonsense.
Trump has referred to Mamdani as a communist, while Mamdani describes himself as a democratic socialist. In a Truth Social post ahead of the mayoral election, Trump said Mamdani will bring, quote, total economic and social disaster to New York City. The president also said in the post that he will likely not deliver federal funds to the city, other than the very minimum as required, with Mamdani as mayor. Also, Trump again urged senators to reopen the government.
But it's time for Chuck Schumer and the radical Democrat Congress to stop playing games with the people's lives and to pass a clean funding bill that they've done 30 times before, and to reopen government immediately. Just reopen it.
President Trump's tariffs were at the top of the Supreme Court's oral argument scheduled today. The justices peppered the government's Solicitor General with questions about the president's power to impose global tariffs. NTD's Arlene Richards explains both sides.
The Trump administration's Solicitor General defended the president's power to impose global tariffs on Wednesday before a skeptical panel of Supreme Court justices.
On April 2nd, President Trump determined that our exploding trade deficits had brought us to the brink of an economic and national security catastrophe. He further pronounced that the traffic of fentanyl and other opioids into our country has created a public health crisis, taking hundreds of thousands of American lives. President Trump has declared that these emergencies are country-killing and not sustainable, that they threaten the bedrock of our national and economic security, and that fixing them will make America a strong, financially viable, and respected country again.
A handful of small businesses in 12 Democratic states have accused the president of overstepping his authority by imposing global tariffs where the law doesn't allow it. They maintain that only Congress has the power to regulate tariffs.
Tariffs are taxes. They take dollars from Americans' pockets and deposit them in the U.S. Treasury. Our founders gave that taxing power to Congress alone. Yet here, the president bypassed Congress and imposed one of the largest tax increases in our lifetimes. Many doctrines explain why this is illegal, like the presumption that Congress speaks clearly when it imposes taxes and duties, and the major questions doctrine. But it comes down to common sense. It's simply implausible that in enacting IEEPA, Congress handed the president the power to overhaul the entire tariff system and the American economy in the process.
The court is not expected to make a ruling today, but it appears that the justices are concerned about the Trump administration's regulation of tariffs globally, with several justices questioning whether he properly interpreted the statute in question. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
President Trump delivered remarks today at a breakfast with Republican senators. The president commented on yesterday's elections, the government shutdown, and other topics.
And last night, it was, not expected to be a victory. It was very Democrat areas, but I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody. But we had an interesting evening, and we learned a lot, and we're going to talk about that. But I thought we'd have a discussion after the press leaves about what last night represented and what we should do about it, and also about the shutdown and how that relates to last night. I think if you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans, and that was a big factor.
Trump said he didn't feel Democrats are really getting the blame for what he called the disastrous Democrat-created government shutdown, now officially the longest in American history.
It's time for Republicans to do what they have to do, and that's terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it. And if you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be in bad shape. We won't pass any legislation. There'll be no legislation passed for 3.25. We have 3.25 years, so that's a long time. If I thought that they weren't going to pass the filibuster, I wouldn't even bring it up. They're going to pass it within the first hour. If they take power, and it's more likely that they take power if we don't do it, because we're not going to be passing any legislation. They're not going to approve anything. We're going to go 3.25 years. There won't be one bill that we're going to pass. Because the easiest thing to pass is exactly right now what they won't pass. And they'll do that, and they'll wreak havoc. But let's assume they get in. They're doing it anyway, so it wouldn't matter. They're doing it anyway.
Trump also criticized mail-in voting, calling it prone to corruption. And he took issue with blue slip rules that let senators block his U.S. attorney nominations. Trump said his administration's tax cuts and job growth prove Republicans can deliver results if they can move legislation without obstruction. The president also recalled an incident from his meeting with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping in South Korea last week.
So he's here, and he's got about 6 people on each side, and every one of those people was standing like this. They were at attention. And I made a comment to one of them, and I got no response. I said, "Are you going to answer me?" I got no response. And President Xi didn't let him have any. So if there's any question, I said, I want my cabinet to behave like that. That's the way. I'm demanding that I want them sitting up like that, Tim, just nice and straight. I never saw posture like that. I've never seen men so scared in their lives. They have the equivalent of a vice president. He was. I said, "Are you going to answer my question?" And he's like, he doesn't move. I said, "What's wrong with this guy?" "I will answer all questions."
Trump was explaining how he tried talking to Chinese officials while they stood next to Xi Jinping and got no response. He made the room laugh, as you just heard, by saying next that Vice President J.D. Vance does not behave like that and budges into conversations.
The NTSB is giving an update on the UPS cargo plane crash right now. Let's listen in.
At the Louisville airport. The NTSB is an independent federal agency that is tasked by Congress to investigate every civil aviation accident that occurs in the United States, along with significant railroad, pipeline, rail, and highway events. We also issue safety recommendations aimed at preventing future losses. Now, before I go any further, on behalf of the entire NTSB, I want to just express our sincere condolences to those who were not only affected by losing family members in this accident, but those that were also injured and those that are still missing. It is a tough day for Louisville, for Kentucky. It's a tough day as being a Kentuckian myself. And I know what a great community this is, how impactful those people that suffered and have died are, and we've seen it all day. We know it is tearing at the community, and we're deeply sorry. And we are here to try to find out not only what happened, but why it happened, and more importantly, how do we prevent it from happening again? So here is some factual information we have at this time. And I'm going to read a few notes to make sure we have it exact. The airplane involved was a McDonnell Douglas II, which was then altered to be an MD-11F. The F stands for freighter. It is now handled by the Boeing Corporation. So whenever you hear that Boeing is a party, it is because of the merger with McDonnell Douglas many years ago. The plane was manufactured in 1991 with a tail number of November 259 UP. The plane was traveling from Louisville, Kentucky to Honolulu, Hawaii. There were 3 souls on board the plane. After being cleared for takeoff, a large plume of fire in the area of the left wing occurred during the takeoff roll. The plane lifted off and gained enough altitude to clear the fence at the end of runway 17R. Shortly after clearing that fence, it made impact with structures and the terrain off of the airport property. A post-impact fire ensued, which covers approximately almost a half of a mile. Now, we have viewed airport CCTV security coverage, which shows the left engine detaching from the wing during the takeoff roll. This and other videos, along with evidence we are finding, are a very valuable asset to our investigators in helping us hone further which areas we were going to be focusing on as we move into further days of the investigation. Now, let me tell you a little bit about our process at the NTSB. What we will do is analyze the facts, determine the probable cause of this accident, and then issue a report on those recommendations. Now, the investigator in charge of this is with me here. It's Chi-Hoon Shin, who has been with the NTSB for 13 years. He is one of our more senior investigators, and in fact was leading one of the groups during the DCA crash. He has a number of other individuals with them. We have approximately 28 from our headquarters and other locations that are either on the ground or will be here before the end of the day. They're also being supported by dozens of individuals at our headquarters in Washington, D.C. and other field offices. As part of this investigation, we will be forming specific groups. And when we form a group, it will be a focus area led by an NTSB individual along with subject matter experts that are in that field that can provide expertise to help analyze the evidence. Our current groups that are being formed are operations. They will review the history of the accident flight and the crew members' duties for as many days before the crash that appear relevant. Our structures group will document the airframe wreckage, the accident scene, including the calculation of the impact angles to help determine the plane's pre-impact course and altitude. We also have a power plants group. They will work on the examination of the engines and engine accessories. We have a systems group. They will study the components of the plane's hydraulic, electrical, pneumatic, and associated systems, together with the instruments and elements of the flight control system. Now, outside of that group, we have also brought in, and another group that we'll have will be maintenance, which will obviously be looking at maintenance records, any work that's been done on this plane for as long as back as needed. We are also bringing in specialists in air traffic control, human performance, aircraft performance, recorders, government relations, media relations. And in addition to our investigators, we have brought 5 of our transportation disaster assistance team. They will be dealing with the survivors, the families, and others under what we call a federally legislated accident from the 1996 Family Assistance Act. Now, tonight we will be holding an organizational meeting and establishing parties to our investigation. Because we're very new into it, we will not be announcing the parties at this moment, but they will obviously be manufacturers of the aircraft, operators of the aircraft, unions representing some of the members. We'll have more details for on that probably tomorrow during a briefing. Now, the NTSB offers this party status to those companies, government agencies,
and you're just watching now the NTSB giving an update on the UPS plane crash in Louisville, saying that according to CCTV footage from the airport, it is seen that the left engine of the plane actually detached from the wing during takeoff. Next, in New York City, Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani won the mayoral race. Joining us to discuss is Bobby Ann Cox, a New York attorney and legal analyst, and also a fellow at the Brownstone Institute. Bobby Ann, always good to see you. Good afternoon. Can you give us your initial reactions here to the results of Mamdani winning?
Well, I think most New Yorkers are stunned, at least the New Yorkers that have common sense. This man who has now won the mayorship of New York City is, a young 34-year-old who has never held a real job in the real world. He is currently a sitting assemblyman representing his district of New York City up in Albany in the New York State Assembly. But he's only held that position for about 5 years. And from what I understand, on his voting record, he's missed a large majority of the votes in the assembly. So, this is really stunning. He is a self-proclaimed socialist, but when you listen to what he is proposing and you listen to the roadmap that he sees for New York City, many of his policies are actually more Marxist than they are socialist. As if socialism wasn't bad enough for the largest city we have in our nation. It's stunning. And there are a lot of New Yorkers, particularly small business owners, who are concerned with what comes next because the platform that Mamdani has run on is really a progressive far left platform saying he wants, free buses, free childcare. He wants to freeze the rent so landlords can't increase rent on New York City tenants. He wants to ban private property ownership. He wants to seize the means of production, meaning the government would control the production of goods. He wants to close prisons. He wants to shift funding within the police department away from the police and people that keep you safe on the street and put it more towards, the social health of New Yorkers. So these are really scary things. Of course, he's going to apparently raise taxes on the rich in New York City to do all of this. But yeah, this is stunning and quite concerning for many New Yorkers.
So, Bobby Ann, can I get your comments on Mamdani getting half the vote, 50%? And he said in his victory speech that he emphasized a mandate for change. How do you see all this?
Yeah, well, the laundry list I was just running down is exactly the change he is envisioning for New York. He wants the wealthy to pay for all of the services across the board for those that do not fall in that tax bracket. He garnered 50% of the vote, as you said. And, in his acceptance speech last night, he credited his win to all these different, people that live in New York City from various countries around the world. He did not give credit to actual, native-born Americans, native-born New Yorkers for his win. So he obviously appealed to the foreign-born New Yorkers, and he said it in his speech last night. And, he actually is a recent citizen of our country. He only became a citizen in 2018, even though his family moved here when he was 7 years old. And he's still a citizen of Uganda, which is his home country where he was born and raised until he was 7. So he has dual citizenship, and which, questions allegiance. And he has made it very clear that, he will take from the rich and give to the lesser, well-endowed New Yorkers. And it's very concerning. He really is proposing radical change, which I think many realize is negative radical change, not positive, because it will just plunge New York City further into debt. And you will see a mass exodus. I mean, just massive numbers of New Yorkers fleeing New York City. And when that tax base leaves, he's not going to have many people left to tax. So this is going to be a huge problem that we see going forward.
So I want to get your thoughts on what you think potentially whether there might be legal challenges that could face Mamdani when he's trying to implement the policies that you just mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. He's going to be facing, I'm sure, many a legal challenge in the months and years to come. I mean, for example, he said he wants to provide free buses in New York City. Well, the mayor does not control the MTA, right? The Metropolitan Transportation Authority is controlled by New York State at the state level, not the mayor at the city level. So if he wants to make buses free, which, by the way, would cost approximately, upwards of $500 million a year, that would have to come from Albany, from the New York State legislature and the governor. That's not something that Mamdani has the power to do. Same thing with, if he's going to try to freeze the rent, and do rent stabilization laws or whatever he has planned, that's going to have to come from Albany. That's not something that the mayor of New York City has unilateral power to do. If he starts to do these things, I am sure he's going to be faced with legal challenges. Same thing with the raising of the taxes. It's approximated that if he does all of these freebie programs that he's talking about, freezing the rent, free childcare for all, free buses, transportation. If he does actually try to implement all of this, it's going to cost New York City an additional $9 billion with a B, $9 billion a year. To implement these things. So, where is he going to get that money from? He can't unilaterally raise taxes on the wealthiest New York City dwellers. That's not a power that he has. That has to come from Albany. I'm sure we are going to be seeing many legal challenges coming at him.
Okay, so Bobby Ann, while I have you here, I really wanted to get your thoughts on something I noticed about the ballot. So Mamdani's name appears twice on the top of the ballot, right? And Cuomo is, sort of off to the side of the ballot. And I even saw Eric Adams' name still on the ballot, even though he's not running anymore in that election. I'm just wondering if there's anything to be said about that.
Yeah, so I know that was a big question that was, racing across social media platforms yesterday. So what happens in New York State, this is statewide, not just in the city, is that since the 1940s, you can cross-endorse a candidate, meaning that more than one political party in our state can endorse the same person for office. And so when that happens, you will see that person's name on the ballot more than once. You'll see them listed for each party that they garnered the endorsement from. So in the case of Mamdani, you saw him under the Democrat and under the Working Families parties. So, same thing. If you get on the other side, if you get the endorsement from, let's say, the Republican Party and the Conservative Party, you will then see your name on the ballot twice under each of those. So it is something that is, quote unquote, legal in New York State because the law passed in the 1940s. But I understand the outrage from many people saying that it's unfair. Because if you see, just psychologically, if you see somebody's name on the ballot more than once, it makes you think that the person is either more important or more powerful or more likely to win. So I do understand that concern. And then as far as Eric Adams being on the ballot, even though he dropped out of the race weeks ago, that is because there is a deadline to actually drop out of a political race. And he missed that deadline. So when he dropped out, the deadline had passed, and therefore the ballots were already in print. And so his name still appeared on the ballots, which was probably confusing to a lot of people because it's not common knowledge that there's a deadline. And even if you drop out after the deadline, your name is still going to be on the ballot. And as far as where you saw Andrew Cuomo's name on the ballot, again, that is all dictated by policy and law. The top names, the first party is going to be the party whose candidate garnered the most results or the highest number of votes in the last election. So that's why you couldn't really find his name. It was kind of tucked in the corner, and he wasn't in one of the major Democrat or Republican parties.
Well, okay, Bobby Ann, I do believe that is our time today. It is always great to speak with you. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Coming up, we'll have more discussion on the election in New York City after this break. Stay with us.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. Shenyun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. And Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy one bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy one, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
As Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani prepares to take his seat in City Hall, his opponents are warning about his socialist policies, with Curtis Sliwa saying the movement is not over yet. Our Washington correspondent, Luis Eduardo Martinez, was at Cuomo's watch party. He joins us now. So, Luis, thank you very much for joining us today. Good to see you in person, finally. So can you tell us what caught your eye from yesterday's elections? What stood out?
Well, okay, so usually my beat is in Congress, and yesterday I was at this campaign watch party for the Cuomo campaign. I was expecting to see mostly Democrats, maybe some independents, but I was hoping to see New York Democrats in this crowd, and it turned out that as I was walking the crowd, asking people how they were feeling before the results came out, and obviously after the results came out, I ran into a lot of Republicans, Don, and I thought that was very interesting. In particular, I spoke with this German-American, Katie Felgar, and she was telling me that her and her friends who are Republicans decided to volunteer for a Cuomo campaign because they thought that if Mamdani won, and of course that's what happened, it would be bad for the city. So I think that's something interesting to take. Let's see what Katie Felgar told me yesterday during that watch party.
The other candidate, like Zohran Mamdani, I think he's dangerous. We don't know what he's going to do to the city, and that made me and also my friends who are like huge Trump supporters all like to decide to support Andrew Cuomo in this election because it's not about parties.
So I really took that, what she said at the end. It's not about parties. It wasn't about Democrat or Republican. It was about New York City and the identity. And I think that's something that might be transferred into other races next year. And so the opposition to something you don't want, like the rejection of, in the case of Mamdani, created a coalition. And we'll see if that coalition persists going forward. That's what most stood out to me about yesterday's election.
So yesterday's results, do you think that's going to impact at all the 2026 midterms?
So, Don, one of the things I think everyone was trying to look at the results, not only in New York, but obviously also Virginia, New Jersey, and the ballot initiative in California, was what lessons could the Democratic Party take from this election going forward? We know that they're going through an identity crisis, the worst in like over 35 years, and they're trying to choose their path going forward, where they're choosing more moderate politics or choosing more progressive radical politics, like the case of Zohran Mamdani. And I don't think that the election results gave us an answer for that, but did actually give us some idea of what people are not looking for. They're not necessarily looking for any more culture wars or talking about quote unquote woke ideas. At least Mamdani and also the Democrats in New Jersey and Virginia focus on kitchen table issues. I also took away from yesterday, Dawn, what people are scared of. So I spoke to a Jewish American person who was at the Cuomo Watch Party yesterday, Josh Friedman, and he was very, very concerned about a potential path the Democratic Party could take going forward. Let's listen to what he had to say.
As a Jew in New York City, realizing that Zohran Mamdani, he doesn't like us. And he is someone who is, call him a wolf wearing a sheep's mask, and he's out to get us by slogans, by words, and he's fooling all the people who are in New York City that are uneducated.
And Don, earlier today, I was also walking down the streets of New York asking people what their reactions were. I spoke to a Romanian American who's living here in New York City, and he was very concerned. He's like, I escaped communism 33 years ago. Now I find myself in a situation where a democratic socialist is elected to government. So there's definitely some apprehension, but I will say that the cultural wars, the woke policies didn't seem to play a part in this election cycle. So maybe we're moving away from that, and maybe the new center of national politics will be whether or not Americans will want to choose socialism or remain a democratic republic.
Okay, just one last question, Luis, and you touched on this a little bit, what Republicans should take away from the results. But I also want to know if there's anything that Republicans need to change about their strategy going forward?
I think first we need to be careful not to think that these election results are, determining the future of both parties. This is an off-year election. It's right after a very contentious presidential election with a very unconventional candidate that now is President Donald Trump. So, of course, I would be careful to take too many conclusions from the results. Of course, Democrats won in Democratic states, so all the races that were supposed to go to the Democrats, it would have been actually surprising if one of them flipped to the Republicans. But I did mention it earlier. I think affordability. Affordability will be the new, key phrase going forward. I think that maybe Americans did not respond so well to the continuation of the MAGA rhetoric into these elections because President Donald Trump is already president. So maybe the immigration and culture wars were not the way to go, especially for Republican candidates in Virginia and in New Jersey. That might be one of the things I would take from this election, that it seems like economics is going to be, again, the center of the imagination of the American public when they go to the ballot box next year for the midterm elections.
Well, all right. Sounds good. Good to talk to you today, Luis.
Likewise, Lon.
And we'll have more discussion on the election results after this quick break, so don't go away.
Being a cowboy, I don't know anything different from when I was 3 or 4 years old. I did tough things. I thought everybody needed to do tough things. And if you didn't, I didn't have time for it. I had a very successful career at a very young age, and life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally on the inside. And then I got hurt. I wanted to be better as a person. And I really dug into mental health. I start my day with 20-minute workouts. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Horses are so therapeutic. They know what you're feeling. When you're nervous, they're nervous. You won't say it back, but we're pals. I take a lot of responsibility in taking care of my kids, my family, and being there for them. You're gonna have tough days. Everybody does. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. My name is Ariel, and my entire life changed when I took a chance and I got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
So Ariel, we made this yearbook for you. It has notes from all the people that are here. Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how sketch is me? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You didn't turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
And for more analysis of last night's elections, joining us now is Matt Klink, a Republican strategist and political analyst. And we have Javier Palomares, founder and CEO of the U.S. Hispanic Business Council. So first of all, thank you both for joining us today. Always a pleasure. And I'll start with you, Matt. How significant, in your view, is the sweeping wins last night for Democrats?
Well, look, if you're a Democrat, I think you look at last night as a plan for recovery from a disastrous November of 2024. They overperformed, or Democratic gubernatorial candidates overperformed in New Jersey and in Virginia. They won 3 Supreme Court seats in Pennsylvania, or they retained them. They picked up 2 statewide offices in Georgia. So it was a good night for Democratic candidates yesterday. Winning kind of smooths over a lot of the rough edges in a party. I think that the buzzword will be affordability heading into the 2026 midterm elections. The only thing that I think that the Democratic Party is going to have to reconcile is the push for a more progressive party versus the moderates. You have Havana on the Hudson with Zohran Mamdani in New York City. Couple that with the 2 moderates that got elected in Virginia and in New Jersey. So all in all, the Democrats should be very, very happy with yesterday's election results.
So Javier, let me go to you. How do you view yesterday's results?
I agree with Matt. Democrats are celebrating this morning. But I really saw, to me, it was less a vote toward Democrats than it was to moderate candidates, candidates that were pragmatic versus being focused on partisanship. They particularly in the case of Mickey Sherrill and Sponberger, they focused on tangible outcomes. They had a background and a history of bipartisanship. I think that's what people voted for, less than Republican versus Democrat necessarily. These 2 particular women happen to be Democrats and in that party. But I'd rather think of it, Matt, as people were looking for some kind of centrist kind of approach to things. And I think voters on both sides are getting tired of the extremes. And so what they found in these 2 candidates, at least in New Jersey and in Virginia, were 2 individuals that I think were focused on the kitchen table issues, the economic issues, on tangible outcomes, and less on the fighting and the bickering back and forth. And I think that's really what the message is. That's what I got out of it anyway.
Okay, so Matt, first, do you agree? And second, can you talk a little bit more about the margins in which the candidates won in Virginia and New Jersey? Double digits. Was the size of the win beyond what was expected in these states?
So I would agree in the sense that kitchen table issues rose to the forefront. And I think that, what I took from yesterday, among other things, is that the American public, they don't care which party is in power, but they want their kitchen table issues resolved. And the fact that Donald Trump has held the White House for 9 months and the Republicans have held both houses of Congress, they got the keys right now. And affordability is still an issue. Yes, gas prices are down. Yes, egg prices are down. But other things are more expensive. And I'll give you an example. Mickey Sherrill said that she promised not to raise taxes, and she said that she would work to get clean energy. So if she can deliver on that, she's going to do well. If she can't, the New Jersey electorate is going to react harshly toward her. And I'm sorry, what was your second question?
What do you make of the size of the wins, the margin?
Yeah, look, these were states that the Democrats won in November of 2024. So I don't think it was ever a question of Republicans winning. I do think, though, that the margin of victory indicates that there was a momentum in these races yesterday for Democrats, that it gave them a tangible and a visible opportunity to express their frustration with what they see is going on in Washington, D.C. And I don't necessarily believe that it's extreme one way or the other. I think that they looked and they said, am I better off than I was 9 months ago? And the answer to that question is no, or I'm not sure. And they reacted accordingly. And I think that the size of the vote is what really should send ripples through the Republican establishment, that they need to focus on domestic politics a lot more than they are in terms of, international stuff. It's all great that Trump is doing what he's doing overseas, but the U.S. economy needs some care and feeding too.
So Javier, what about you? Does the results indicate do they indicate that voters feel less positive about the economy under the current administration?
I certainly they were more positive when this administration was a bit newer. They've grown less positive over time. The net of it is they don't feel terrible about the situation in the economy right now, but it isn't real clear in their mind exactly what they got for this deal. I also agree with, there appears to be a lot of attention on the international and global issues, perhaps rightly so. But that doesn't solve the problem for the average American family. What the folks we're talking to very clearly indicated is, look, I've got my business to run. I've got my family to take care of. I've got the issues that are right in front of me. And it's great that we're involved in other parts of the world and bringing peace. And, our leader is trying to be a global peacemaker. Get that. That's great. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do with, the next couple of months, the next year. It isn't clear to me. And I think what happened in the case of New Jersey and Virginia is you saw two women who were, again, very pragmatic. They didn't spend a lot of time being partisan. They spent a lot of time being pragmatic and having a common sense, authentic conversation with the audience. And that was the difference. They were focused on tangible outcomes. They weren't, bickering back and forth and name calling. There wasn't any effort toward that. What they focused on was, here's a better view for the future. Here's what I think I can do. Nothing too outlandish. And I think the voters very aggressively reacted to that. And the results are what we saw this morning.
So, Matt, do you think they're
right? Matt, to counter that. Yeah, I mean, look, two things to counter that. When you're in a state like New Jersey that Kamala Harris won by 16, you don't have to go on the attack mode when you're campaigning in the state. So you can focus on your messaging and stay on message, because your opponent has to bring you down. And that's the same. Kamala Harris won by 6 points in Virginia. I will point out, too, that the silver lining for Democrats is that they did very well yesterday. But the clouds that emerge into that sky are that these elections are not indicative of performance in even year elections. Just look at what the Democrats did in 2023 before 2024. They won the governor's race in Kentucky. And the Democrats were saying, oh, this gives us a great opportunity to keep the White House, no matter who, for a Democrat. They picked up seats in Virginia. And yet what happened? Donald Trump won. So again, these races are quirky. They tend to focus on local issues and candidate qualities a lot more than broader political parties. So look, the Democrats are going to make great hay over this, and they should. I think that Vivek Ramaswamy said it best. The Republicans got their A kicked yesterday, and I think that he was right. But that doesn't mean that this is a trend going forward and the Democrats are on easy street. They've got some hard decisions going forward on whether their party is the Zohran Mamdani model or the Spanberger and Mickey Sherrill model, because both factions are vying for control of that party right now.
So, Javier, it's an interesting point that Matt has raised. So what do you think about the direction that the Democratic Party is going right now that it has a Democratic socialist as New York City mayor?
I don't know that spells the future for the entire party. Look, the Republican Party is struggling in and of itself. They themselves are trying to figure out kind of what direction they're going to go in. The fact of the matter is that I believe that the American people, and we're talking to business owners literally every day, are tired of the extremes. They're tired of a lot of talk, campaign promises. But frankly, nothing is being delivered. I I think President Trump has done a great job of setting up some really good economics, but the delivery, the execution, again, I think he needs to be back home. He needs to be, guiding this ship. He set up some great, and I've been on your air many times talking about some of the great wins that this administration has put forth in terms of small business and the economy in general. But what you're seeing and what I'm hearing from our constituency is that they're tired of the bickering, the partisanship. They want to see more bipartisan collaboration in our elected leaders. And I think what you saw in New Jersey and Virginia has less to do with being Democrat or Republican. It had to do with a candidate that was talking to the people in an authentic fashion, that was elegant about what she was talking about in both cases, didn't make some huge promises, and didn't spend a lot of time bickering or putting other people down, but rather focused on what she was going to bring and what she was going to make possible for the people in both their states. And the results are what you got. People want moderators, people that lead from the center. And this is what we're seeing in both New Jersey and Virginia. By the way, Republicans that do the same thing could have the same kind of results. If you see Republicans talking about leading from the center, bipartisanship, tangible outcomes, economic and kitchen table issues that matter to the American family, they're going to win as well. So this could apply to either party. It has very little to do with whether someone is Democrat or Republican. And believe me, I talk to American people all the time. I'm not spending a lot of time in Washington, D.C. I'm talking to the Americans.
Hey, Javier, how are you going to feel when Abigail Sparrenberger does a partisan redistricting in Virginia? How does that affect kitchen table issues for Virginia voters? Because that's what the legislature is going to do. The governor will likely support.
It may very well do that in response to what's happening in Texas. And again, I hope that we don't go there anymore. I hope that we can let the American people make the decisions that matter instead of the gamesmanship on both sides of the aisle. And look, Matt, you know a lot more about this than I do. I'm a simple businessman. But the fact of the matter is, I think Americans are tired of the gamesmanship. They're tired of the acrimony, and they want leaders, whether Republican or Democrat, to start leading from the middle and be centrist and start to collaborate with each other to move the American people and the American economy forward.
Okay, Matt, we just have a little bit of time left. Anything else you'd like to add? And also, I wanted to get your thoughts as well as to how you view Californians voting in favor of Prop 50.
It's a big win for Governor Gavin Newsom. He took a calculated risk, and that risk proved successful. What he did was very successful in California in the sense that he made the redistricting a choice between keeping California or siding with Donald Trump. And when the incumbent president has a 27% popularity rating in California, it was an easy choice, and it was a 65-35 win for the yes side. What it will result in is potentially 5 seats pickup for the Democrats. Unfortunately, what that does for Republicans, which have about 40% of the electorate, it means that they will have about 8% of the congressional seats in California. I will add, by the way, that Maryland is also considering redistricting. Maryland has 7 Democrats and 1 Republican. They get 40% Republican votes, so the Republicans will be completely disenfranchised. Look, redistricting has gone on in America since 1812. It's the most blatant political act. And historically, the Democrats have been way more successful and way more sophisticated at redistricting. I do find it ironic that when Republicans say we're going to do what Democrats are doing, that the Democrats react. All it is ultimately it's a race to the bottom, and we're going to get a lot more polarizing delegations, which, Javier, will make your move to the middle that much more impossible because there will be no reason to do so.
Well, all right. We do have to wrap up for this conversation today. Thank you both, Matt, Javier, for your time.
Thank you.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is set to travel to Washington this week to meet with President Trump. The topics the two are set to discuss, that after the break.
Don't wait. Why do we have to sit through so many Medicare commercials this time of year? It's endless.
Good question, Edith. I'm glad you asked. We see so many commercials this time of year because it's the only time, other than special circumstances, when Medicare recipients can change their plan for Part C. Original Medicare only covers Parts A and B, but a Medicare Advantage plan has additional benefits that Original Medicare doesn't offer.
So now's the time to fill those spaces?
That's right, Archie. And every year, there are changes to what benefits you may receive from your Part C plan. Call right now to find out what plan best suits your needs.
It's easy, easy, don't delay. Pick up the phone and call today.
Call now for your free Medicare review.
1-833-469-1754. 1-833-469-1754.
You may now return to your regularly scheduled programming.
Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretang Black Ginseng. Crafted from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng, each root is carefully nurtured for over 2,260 days, undergoing a traditional 9-round handcrafted process of steaming and drying to unlock full potency and absorption. Experience pure, natural energy with Puretang Black Ginseng. Order now at puretang.com.
Judge Napolitano here. Are you watching gold prices? They're not just rising, they're soaring. In just 12 months, gold has surged to more than $3,700 an ounce. And now, Goldman Sachs, the same experts who predicted that rise, are saying gold could reach $4,500 or more in the next year. So what's behind this historic move? Global currencies are falling and big money is in a panic. That's why big banks and billionaires are buying gold in record amounts. And as long as paper money keeps losing value, they'll keep buying. So do what I did. Buy gold from the only company I trust, Lear Capital. Give them a call today. You'll be glad you did.
Claim your free Gold Investor Kit now. Discover how easy it is to own gold, shipped to you or added to your IRA. Also ask how you can get up to $20,000 in bonus gold with a qualified purchase. Call 800-885-6000. 800-885-6000. 800-885-6000.
Elmo's daddy taught him that when he has a big feeling like being frustrated, humming a song can help you feel better. Love your mind.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
Hungary says the country's prime minister is set to meet with President Trump this week. They're scheduled to discuss the ongoing fighting in Ukraine, and Russia is currently considering resuming the testing of nuclear weapons. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the Ukraine update.
President Trump is set to meet with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban this week. The country's foreign minister made the announcement on Wednesday, saying Orban is set to travel to the U.S. on Thursday.
A prominent point of the agenda will be the possibility of peacemaking in Ukraine. If an American-Russian preparatory work is successful, Hungary is ready to host a peace summit in Budapest.
Trump was already scheduled to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Budapest last month, but the U.S. canceled the meeting, suggesting it could be a waste of time without the necessary preparations. Another priority for Orban this week will likely be to convince the U.S. to allow Hungary to continue purchasing Russian oil. And in other Russia-related news, Putin is drafting proposals to possibly resume nuclear weapons testing. That's after statements by Trump last week appeared to suggest the U.S. will restart its own atomic tests.
Should the United States conduct such tests, Russia would be compelled to take appropriate reciprocal measures.
Putin is directing the defense and foreign ministries to analyze Washington's intentions and work out proposals to resume nuclear weapons tests. Trump made the statements last week after Putin announced successful tests of a nuclear-capable cruise missile. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
The Supreme Court is listening to arguments today over whether the president has the authority to impose sweeping tariffs. Several justices have expressed skepticism. We have more news after this break.
What are toxins? How do they get into our bodies? We are constantly being exposed to toxins in our environment. I've had detox protocol programs in my clinic more than 20 years, helping countless people. MixFix is a custom formulated, full-spectrum organic detox product to achieve better health and overall function. Detoxifying your body 3 to 4 times per year may be the single most important thing you can do. Just scan the QR code and detox your body today.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
You gotta stop with that depression stuff.
That's what white people think.
You alright?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you wanna talk about it?
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad. Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump speaks at the America Business Forum in Miami. We'll let you know what his reactions were to last night's election results. In his victory speech, Mamdani emphasized a mandate for change. We discussed this win with a legal analyst. An NTSB investigation team has arrived to the site of a UPS plane crash in Kentucky. The agency shared an update this afternoon announcing that the critical black box has been found. The Supreme Court is listening to arguments today over whether the president has the authority to impose sweeping tariffs. Several justices have expressed skepticism. Hungary says the country's prime minister is set to travel to Washington this week to meet with President Trump. The topics the two are set to discuss. France suspends Xi'an's online access, but what is the untold reason?
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for staying with us. A team from the National Transportation Safety Board arrived in Kentucky this morning to launch its investigation into a deadly plane crash near Louisville. Board member Todd Inman has an update.
And we have viewed airport CCTV security coverage, which shows the left engine detaching from the wing during the takeoff roll. There are a lot of different parts of this airplane in different places. I mean, whenever you have a post-impact to not only structures, but also to the terrain, you have to analyze why it came there, and then how do you recover it correctly in order to analyze it.
About 30 NTSB personnel are on the ground investigating the crash of a UPS cargo plane, which left behind a path of destruction. Inman confirmed that the plane's black box was found this morning. He said it had suffered heat exposure, but that it's made to withstand that. He said it will be sent to Washington, D.C. for analysis. A search and rescue operation continues. At last check, there are 9 reported deaths, but that number is expected to rise. Earlier today, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear announced that he has declared a state of emergency to speed up resources. Inman said that there's a lot of debris scattered across a large area. He's asking the public to contact the NTSB so it can recover the debris for its investigation. President Trump reacting to the results of yesterday's mayoral election in New York City. Here's the president speaking at the America Business Forum in Miami today.
After last night's results, the decision facing all Americans could not be more clear. We have a choice between communism and common sense. Does that make sense to you? Common sense. It's common sense or communism. And you know, you take a look back 1,000 years, it hasn't worked. If it worked, we'd be using it, I guess, but it hasn't worked. Our opponents are offering an economic nightmare. We're delivering an economic miracle. And as long as I'm in the White House, the United States is not going communist in any way, shape, or form. We'll stop it. We're going to stop it. Stop this nonsense.
Trump has referred to Mamdani as a communist, while Mamdani describes himself as a democratic socialist. In a Truth Social post ahead of the mayoral election, Trump said Mamdani will bring, quote, total economic and social disaster to New York City. The The president also said in the post that he will likely not deliver federal funds to the city, other than the very minimum as required, with Mamdani as mayor. Also, Trump again urged senators to reopen the government.
But it's time for Chuck Schumer and the radical Democrat Congress to stop playing games with the people's lives and to pass a clean funding bill that they've done 30 times before, and to reopen government immediately. Just reopen it.
After winning the New York City mayoral race, Zohran Mamdani said he will announce members of his new administration soon. Here's more from his press conference today in Queens.
Last night, we made history. I'm so proud to be standing here today as the mayor-elect of the greatest city in the world. Over 2 million New Yorkers cast their ballots. Whether they were the more than million who supported this campaign or the others who supported someone else, or whether they felt too disappointed by the political process to participate at all, I will work every day to honor the trust that I now hold.
Mamdani said over the coming days he will announce roles including deputy mayors and commissioners. They will carry out the critical work of city agencies and oversee entire areas of government. Mamdani also announced 5 women who will serve on his transition team. They include his campaign advisor, who will be the executive director. The transition team members have worked under the previous 3 mayors. Mamdani promised to build an administration that is capable, compassionate, driven by integrity, and willing to work hard. He said he is willing to work with Mayor Eric Adams to ensure a smooth transition. A number of Jewish organizations are reacting to the election of Zohran Mamdani as the next mayor of New York City. The UJA Federation of New York issued a statement expressing its concerns. The federation said, quote, "We recognize that voters are animated by a range of issues, but we cannot ignore that the mayor-elect holds core beliefs fundamentally at odds with our community's deepest convictions and most cherished values." The coalition said it will continue to work to ensure the city's Jewish community and all communities feel safe and respected. The organization added, quote, "Our agenda remains clear. We will hold all elected officials, including Mayor-elect Mamdani, fully accountable for ensuring that New York remains a place where Jewish life and support for Israel are protected and can thrive." In his victory speech last night, Mamdani appeared to respond to concerns within the Jewish community, saying, quote, "We will build a city hall that stands steadfast alongside Jewish New Yorkers and does not wave in the fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism." Next, in New York City, Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani won the mayoral race. Joining us to discuss is Bobby Ann Cox, a New York attorney and legal analyst and also a fellow at the Brownstone Institute. Bobby Ann, always good to see you. Good afternoon. Can you give us your initial reactions here to the results of Mamdani winning?
Well, I think most New Yorkers are stunned, at least the New Yorkers that have common sense. This man who has now won the mayorship of New York City is, a young 34-year-old who has never held a real job in the real world. He is currently a sitting assemblyman representing his district of New York City up in Albany in the New York State Assembly. But he's only held that position for about 5 years. And from what I understand, on his voting record, he's missed a large majority of the votes in the assembly. So, this is really stunning. He is a self-proclaimed socialist, but when you listen to what he is proposing and you listen to the roadmap that he sees for New York City, many of his policies are actually more Marxist than they are socialist, as if socialism wasn't bad enough for the largest city we have in our nation. It's stunning. And there are a lot of New Yorkers, particularly small business owners, who are concerned with what comes next, because the platform that Mamdani has run on is really a progressive far left platform, saying he wants, free buses, free childcare. He wants to freeze the rent so landlords can't increase rent on New York City tenants. He wants to ban private property ownership. He wants to seize the means of production, meaning the government would control the production of goods. He wants to close prisons. He wants to shift funding within the police department away from the police and people that keep you safe on the street, and put it more towards, the social health of New Yorkers. So these are really scary things. Of course, he's going to apparently raise taxes on the rich in New York City to do all of this. But yeah, this is stunning and quite concerning for many New Yorkers.
So, Bobby Ann, can I get your comments on Mamdani getting half the vote, 50%? And he said in his victory speech that he emphasized a mandate for change. How do you see all this?
Yeah, well, the laundry list I was just running down is exactly the change he is envisioning for New York. He wants the wealthy to pay for all of the services across the board for those that do not fall in that tax bracket. He garnered 50% of the vote, as you said. And, in his acceptance speech last night, he credited his win to all these different, people that live in New York City from various countries around the world. He did not give credit to actual, native-born Americans, native-born New Yorkers for his win. So he obviously appealed to the foreign-born New Yorkers, and he said it in his speech last night. He actually is a recent citizen of our country. He only became a citizen in 2018. Even though his family moved here when he was 7 years old. And he's still a citizen of Uganda, which is his home country where he was born and raised until he was 7. So he has dual citizenship, and which, questions allegiance. And he has made it very clear that, he will take from the rich and give to the lesser, well-endowed New Yorkers. And it's very concerning. He really is proposing radical change, which I think many realize is negative radical change, not positive, because it will just plunge New York City further into debt. And you will see a mass exodus. I mean, just massive numbers of New Yorkers fleeing New York City. And when that tax base leaves, he's not going to have many people left to tax. So this is going to be a huge problem that we see going forward.
So I want to get your thoughts on what you think potentially whether there might be legal challenges that could face Mamdani when he's trying to implement the policies that you just mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. He's going to be facing, I'm sure, many a legal challenge in the months and years to come. I mean, for example, he said he wants to provide free buses in New York City. Well, the mayor does not control the MTA, right? The Metropolitan Transportation Authority is controlled by New York State at the state level, not the mayor at the city level. So if he wants to make buses free, which, by the way, would cost approximately, upwards of $500 million a year, that would have to come from Albany, from the New York State legislature and the governor. That's not something that Mamdani has the power to do. Same thing with, if he's going to try to freeze the rent, and do rent stabilization laws or whatever he has planned, that's going to have to come from Albany. That's not something that the mayor of New York City has unilateral power to do. If he starts to do these things, I am sure he's going to be faced with legal challenges. Same thing with the raising of the taxes. It's approximated that if he does all of these freebie programs that he's talking about, freezing the rent, free childcare for all, free buses, transportation, If he does actually try to implement all of this, it's going to cost New York City an additional $9 billion with a B, $9 billion a year to implement these things. So, where is he going to get that money from? He can't unilaterally raise taxes on the wealthiest New York City dwellers. That's not a power that he has. That has to come from Albany. I'm sure we are going to be seeing many legal challenges coming at him.
Okay, so Bobby Ann, while I have you here, I really wanted to get your thoughts on something I noticed about the ballot. So Mamdani's name appears twice on the top of the ballot, right? And Cuomo is, sort of off to the side of the ballot. And I even saw Eric Adams' name still on the ballot, even though he's not running anymore in that election. I'm just wondering if there's anything to be said about that.
Yeah, so I know that was a big question that was, racing across social media platforms yesterday. So what happens in New York State, this is statewide, not just in the city, is that since the 1940s, you can cross-endorse a candidate, meaning that more than one political party in our state can endorse the same person for office. And so when that happens, you will see that person's name on the ballot more than once. You'll see them listed for each party that they garnered the endorsement from. So in the case of Mamdani, you saw him under the Democrat and under the Working Families parties. Same thing. If you get on the other side, if you get the endorsement from, let's say, the Republican Party and the Conservative Party, you will then see your name on the ballot twice under each of those. So it is something that is, quote unquote, legal in New York State because the law passed in the 1940s. But I understand the outrage from many people saying that it's unfair. Because if you see, just psychologically, if you see somebody's name on the ballot more than once, it makes you think that the person is either more important or more powerful or more likely to win. So I do understand that concern. And then as far as Eric Adams being on the ballot, even though he dropped out of the race weeks ago, that is because there is a deadline to actually drop out of a political race. And he missed that deadline. So when he dropped out, the deadline had passed, and therefore the ballots were already in print. And so his name still appeared on the ballots, which was probably confusing to a lot of people because it's not common knowledge that there's a deadline. And even if you drop out after the deadline, your name is still going to be on the ballot. And as far as where you saw Andrew Cuomo's name on the ballot, again, that is all dictated by policy and law. The top names, the first party is going to be the party whose candidate garnered the most results or the highest number of votes in the last election. So that's why you couldn't really find his name. It was kind of tucked in the corner, and he wasn't in one of the major Democrat or Republican parties.
Well, okay, Bobby Ann, I do believe that is our time today. It is always great to speak with you. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for having me.
What pushed New Yorkers to choose a Democratic socialist for mayor? We have analysis on that and more after this break.
£6 prescription glasses from Select Specs are always great value. There are no offer codes or first-time customers only. Anyone can buy them, anytime. And you can upgrade to Select Specs Express for next day delivery. And with deferred payments, you can spread the cost.
See now, pay later with Select Specs £6 specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options available at selectspecs.com/£6.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality. A timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Puretang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Puretang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/act now.
Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy is holding a press conference on the government shutdown's impact on air travel right now. Take a listen.
Being here today, appreciate all of the work that's taken place over the last days, weeks, in the month from the FAA and the FAA team. There are two issues we want to talk about today, and these are two very separate issues. Number one is the Louisville crash, the UPS airplane that went down yesterday. And then I also want to talk about air traffic controllers, the shutdown, and our staffing issues and the mitigation efforts that we've been deploying to make sure we keep the airspace safe. So first off, with regard to the crash last night, the NTSB gave a press conference earlier. There are a lot of videos online. A lot of theories have been deployed online based on what folks have seen. We are not in the business of theories. We don't speculate. We are going to wait for the facts to come out, and with those facts, we will present them to the American people, as well as with the NTSB. I'd also note the FAA has a ground team in conjunction with the NTSB, both of them are doing great work to get to the facts of what happened. I do want to extend my condolences to the families of those who lost loved ones in the crash. I did have an opportunity to speak with the union head of the UPS pilots, extended my condolences as well. He indicated that he was very good friends with the pilots on that aircraft. So condolences to the families. This issue, though, of the aircraft is very different than the second issue, which is air traffic controllers, which, by the way, this was not an air traffic control issue. It appears that it was a mechanical issue. Everyone's been clear on that. That is not speculation. Two very separate issues at play. In regard to air traffic control, we've had a conversation over the course of the last month about some of the challenges that we're having in the airspace. Many of you know that we are 2,000 controllers short, air traffic controllers short, and we have surged our academy to bring more controllers into our system. We are 20% up in controllers through the academy thus far this year. I've also offered air traffic controllers who are of the age of retirement a 20% upfront cash bonus to actually stay on. Some of the best controllers we have don't retire, keep working for us. All of that has been reducing the pressure on the staffing side of air traffic control. It's working, but it takes years to bring more well-trained, certified controllers into the airspace. the shutdown is having an impact on our ability to maintain those numbers and dent that 2,000 shortage that we have. You also know we're modernizing the airspace. We have an old set of equipment that we use to control America's airspace. We have, though, the safest airspace in the world. And that's not because of the equipment, that's because of the well-trained air traffic controllers that we have operating the national airspace. We received $12.5 billion from the Congress in one big, beautiful bill, and we need a total of $31.5 billion to accomplish the mission of completely rebuilding America's airspace. The work has begun. We're transitioning our telecommunications. We're about to announce a project manager to do all of the work for this brand new system. But I want to talk about what's happening over the course of the last month with regard to the shutdown. Our air traffic controllers and a lot of those who work at DOT, but throughout government, they haven't received paychecks. And many of these employees, they're the head of household. They have their spouse at home. They have a child or two or three. And when they lose income, they are confronted with real world difficulties in how they pay their bills. And so for air traffic controllers, they received a partial payment in early October. The second payment, they got a big fat zero, no paycheck at all. Tomorrow, they get a pay stub email on what their next paycheck is going to be. And when that pay stub comes out, that is also going to be zero. So they will have gone a month without any pay. And what we're finding is that our air traffic controllers, because of the financial pressures at home, are taking side jobs. They need to put food on the table, gas in the car, pay their bills. By the way, I do not want them to take side jobs. I want them to show up for work. We have asked them to show up for work, but I'm not naive to understand that they're trying to figure out how they meet their daily obligations. And so because of that, we have seen staffing pressures throughout our airspace. Those who travel will see that we've had more delays. We've had more cancellations. We do not want to see disruptions at the FAA or here at DOT. We don't want that. But our number one priority is to make sure when you travel safely. And that's why, as the administrator and I have been talking throughout the day, his team has been working for the last 24, 36, 48 hours crunching data. We're noticing that there's additional pressure that's building in the system. And again, our priority is to make sure that you're safe. And so we're going to talk about additional measures that we are going to take that's going to reduce the risk profile in the national airspace. And I'm going to turn it over to the administrator to do that. As he walks through what that plan is going to look like, I anticipate there will be additional disruptions. There will be frustration. We are working with the airlines. They're going to work with passengers. But in the end, our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible. The administrator is going to talk about all of the tools we're going to deploy. One of them, though, is going to be that there is going to be a 10% reduction in capacity at 40 of our locations. The administrator is going to tell you that this is data-based. This is not based on what airline travels, has more flights out of what location. This is about where is the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure. And so I want to thank him for, again, him and his team's great work. He'll lay out what the specifics are of this plan, and then we're happy to take questions from all of you. Brian Bedford.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Again, as the Secretary said, our primary mission at the FAA is to manage the airspace in the safest manner possible. That is our only focus. What we have been monitoring on a daily basis, frankly hourly basis, is looking at all of the metrics that we use to surveil the NAS and its health and its well-being. And for the most part, we're happy to report that it is running as efficiently today in terms of its safety metrics as it was prior to the lapse. But as we dig deeper into the data, what we find are issues of fatigue and that our flight controllers are experiencing. And we see that through voluntary safety disclosure reports coming in from commercial air transport pilots. That data has allowed us to focus not on the NAS as a whole, but on specific markets where we're seeing some of these reports come to us. And as we slice the data more granularly, we are seeing pressures build in a way that we don't feel will, if we allow it to go unchecked, will allow us to continue to tell the public that we operate the safest airline system in the world. And we're not going to react to that, and we intend to be proactive. So we're going to implement measures with our commercial airline industry partners, but this is going to go beyond commercial airspace. It's going to include restrictions on space launches, restrictions on VFR traffic in certain markets that have continued FAA controller staffing triggers, and a host of other countermeasures, if you will, that will give us the highest level of comfort that we're maintaining the safest aviation space in the world. And that's the mission. But we do recognize that the controllers have been working fastidiously for the last 5 weeks with this huge burden over their head of lack of compensation. And we are starting to see some evidence that that fatigue is building in the system in ways that we feel we need to work towards relieving some of that pressure. So again, as the Secretary said, we've identified 40 high traffic environment markets. We'll be happy to share that later. We have decided that a 10% reduction in scheduled capacity would be appropriate to, again, continue to take the pressure off of our controllers. And as we continue to see staffing triggers, there will be additional measures that will be taken in those specific markets. Again, I think it's a holistic plan. I really appreciate the men and women at the FAA who have been working this situation from the get-go. I want to applaud the controllers who continue to come to work on a daily basis, keeping our system safe. But I also want to recognize the fact that the data is telling us we need to do more, and we are going to do more. And I want to reassure the American travelers that it is absolutely safe to fly in the American skies. So with that, I'd be happy to turn it over to you, Mr. Secretary, and or take any questions that you have.
Yeah, I want to reiterate, this is proactive. We don't want to find ourselves in a situation, I think the administrator said, we don't want the horse out of the barn and then look back and say there were issues we could have taken that we didn't. So we are going to proactively make decisions that keep the airspace safe. With that, we're happy to take any questions you may have.
Dave Shepard, so just to confirm, those restrictions start Friday, is that correct?
Those are going to start Friday morning.
And how are you going to apportion those among the airports, the airlines? Is this something the airlines have to do, come up with their own 10%?
And I'll let Brian address that, but again, it's going to be based on the locations, the 40 locations that we feel the pressure, and how that's going to be implemented. Brian, I'll let you answer that.
Yes, well, we'll be meeting with the airline community this evening to talk about how we'll move to implementation. We want to do this in an organized way. We want to make sure that planes get where they need to go for maintenance and crews get to where they need to be as we start to implement this drawdown in service. But it will be restricted to these 40 high volume traffic markets. We're going to ask the airlines to work with us collaboratively to reduce their schedules pro rata through the day. So we're going to look for a ratable reduction across these 40 markets over the next 48 hours.
So back of the envelope, that's 3,500, 4,000 flights, and that's a significant number. And how do you think the airspace or the system is going to handle that dramatic reduction in such a short period of time?
Well, again, we're trying to lean into the fact that when we see pressures building in these 40 markets, we just can't ignore it, and we're not going to wait for a safety problem to truly manifest itself when the early indicators are telling us we can take action today to prevent, things from deteriorating. So the system is extremely safe today. It will be extremely safe tomorrow. And if the pressures continue to build even after we take these measures, we'll come back and take additional measures. So again, we're trying to be prescriptive, surgical, put the relief where the relief will do the most good. But again, we are not going to do anything that will compromise the safety of air transport in the United States.
Mr. Secretary? Thank you. Grady Trimble with Fox Business. I'm wondering, in the same vein as David's question, is there a plan to make sure that one airline isn't disproportionately affected, or one route or city or multiple cities aren't disproportionately affected by this? And to your knowledge, when was the last time this type of thing happened, and how did it go?
Well, I'm not aware in my 35-year history in the aviation market where we've had a situation where we're taking these kind of measures. Then again, we're in new territory in terms of government shutdowns. Also, I think we've learned things through the mishap, the tragic accident with DCA and PSA 5342. So our surveillance on the NAS is much different today than it was even a year ago. the data that we're looking at is much different and more granular today than it was a year ago. And we simply aren't going to ignore that. So again, I think it is unusual, just as the shutdown is unusual, just on the fact that our controllers haven't been paid for a month is unusual. These are unusual times, and we look forward to a time when we can get back to business as usual.
And how do you apply it proportionately to each airline, or is that not part of the plan?
No, it will be proportionate. We'll be working through that with the airlines this evening as we start to roll this out. Recognizing there will be no perfect solution. There are some airlines that operate less than daily service, so how do you reduce 10% of one? We will work through those issues. We certainly don't want to disrupt service availability in individual city pairs. So we will take all of those factors into consideration.
Just one other point on the controllers, I think, compared to other shutdowns, our controllers, again, though we are not full staffed, I've laid that out. I think the performance of our controllers showing up for work compared to other shutdowns, I'm proud of them. Many of them have showed up. But to the administrator's point, many of the same ones who show up continue to show up. Some of those who don't show up continue to not show up, which means we have those who come to work. They're working longer hours. They're working more days. And that's some of the pressure that we're seeing on them. And we want to alleviate that pressure before it would become an issue.
And
Mr. Secretary, realistically, for the American people that are watching this right now, what will this mean practically for air travel? Is this going to lead to more flight delays, more cancellations?
Well, I think it's going to lead to more cancellations. We're going to work with the airlines to do this in a systematic way. And again, we had a conversation about that. I'm concerned about disrupting people's travel. We're coming into a weekend. That doesn't, listen, I travel a lot. We are concerned about that. But we had to have a gut check of what is our job. Is it to make sure there's, minimal delays or minimal cancellations, or is our job to make sure we make the hard decisions to continue to keep the airspace safe? That is our job, is safety. And so, again, when we see pressure, we are going to get ahead of it and make sure that you get to where you're going, point A to point B.
And how long will these restrictions stay in place until the government reopens? And are you any closer to...
And you were just watching a press briefing with the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, saying that it's going to take extra measures to ensure safety in the airs. And one of those measures is a reduction of about 10% in service of capacity across 40 locations to ensure that air traffic controllers are able to keep the skies safe. All right, we're going to take a break now. The Supreme Court is listening to arguments today over whether the president has the authority to impose sweeping tariffs. Several justices have expressed skepticism.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is...
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you. Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
President Trump's tariffs were at the top of the Supreme Court's oral argument scheduled today. The justices peppered the government's Solicitor General with questions about the president's power to impose global tariffs. NTD's Arlene Richards explains both sides.
The Trump administration's Solicitor General defended the president's power to impose global tariffs on Wednesday before a skeptical panel of Supreme Court justices.
On April 2nd, President Trump determined that our exploding trade deficits had brought us to the brink of an economic and national security catastrophe. He further pronounced that the traffic of fentanyl and other opioids into our country has created a public health crisis, taking hundreds of thousands of American lives. President Trump has declared that these emergencies are country-killing and not sustainable, that they threaten the bedrock of our national and economic security, and that fixing them will make America a strong, financially viable, and respected country again.
A handful of small businesses in 12 Democratic states have accused the president of overstepping his authority by imposing global tariffs where the law doesn't allow it. They maintain that only Congress has the power to regulate tariffs.
Tariffs are taxes. They take dollars from Americans' pockets and deposit them in the U.S. Treasury. Our founders gave that taxing power to Congress alone. Yet here, the president bypassed Congress and imposed one of the largest tax increases in our lifetimes. Many doctrines explain why this is illegal, like the presumption that Congress speaks clearly when it imposes taxes and duties, and the major questions doctrine. But it comes down to common sense. It's simply implausible that in enacting IEEPA, Congress handed the president the power to overhaul the entire tariff system and the American economy in the process.
The court is not expected to make a ruling today, but it appears that the justices are concerned about the Trump administration's regulation of tariffs globally, with several justices questioning whether he properly interpreted the statute in question. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Moments ago, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, after attending the Supreme Court hearing on the Trump administration's tariff policies, talked to reporters at the White House. Let's take a look.
Court hearing.
I think it went very well. I think the Solicitor General made a very powerful case for the need for the president to have the IEEPA powers, and I believe that the other side, in a way, fell flat on their face. But that'll be up to SCOTUS.
Secretary Bessent, what's the plan B if the Supreme Court ultimately rules against the president's powers?
We're not going to discuss that now.
Secretary Bessent,
why does the president
talk
about raising revenue when
can you elaborate on what the president means when he says this case is literally a case of life and death, sir?
Well, it gives him the ultimate negotiating authority. And if you want to talk about life and death, let's talk about the fentanyl tariffs. That is life and death. Hundreds of thousands of Americans die every year, and the fentanyl tariffs brought the Chinese to the negotiating table in Busan, Korea, and we have taken them down by a half. And for the first time, the Chinese have agreed to work with the U.S. on the precursor chemicals. So that is life and death. That we were at a tipping point in the economy with these trade deficits. That was a problem. And sometimes the best tariffs are the ones that never get enforced. That the president threatened 100% tariffs after the Chinese on October 8th threatened to put export controls on rare earth magnets from Chinese products that had 0.01%. Every camera, every iPhone here would have been subject to a Chinese control. Because he had the ability to threaten the 100% tariff, he was able to successfully execute on foreign policy.
Secretary Bessent.
It was revealed the IRS direct file program will be canceled. What's the rationale, reasons behind that?
I think that we have better alternatives. It wasn't used very much, and we think that the private sector can do a better job.
The economy was a major driver in getting folks to the polls yesterday. Has the administration done enough to address the daily costs of life and the cost of living?
Well, the first thing we had to do was to stop the incredible Biden-flation. And if you look, MIT just published a story or a study that said 44% of the inflation came from the huge budget deficit that the Biden administration ran up. We've actually brought the deficit down. So before we can address the affordability, we had to stop the arc up. And we are working every day. Gasoline prices are down, interest rates are down, and I believe we have a great economic story to tell. I am also the IRS commissioner, and what we are seeing is that working Americans, from the one big beautiful bill, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans, that Americans are going to be getting very substantial refunds in the first quarter. They'll change their withholding. They'll get the wage increases then. And the other thing too, there's affordability on one side and there are wage increases on the other. And under President Trump, working Americans have already seen real wage increases before those four plans kick in.
Secretary Bessent.
The administration has done a pretty good job in making sure the U.S. dollar is stronger. Gold has recently dropped nearly 20% since its 10-year high. Is the Treasury confident with gold prices falling that this will result in a stronger U.S. dollar?
Yeah, we don't focus on the gold price. What we focus on in terms of the U.S. dollar is making sure that the underlying fundamentals are there, that will continue to keep the U.S. the reserve currency of the world. We believe that we have put that in place.
The president has acknowledged that his party is being at least partially blamed for the shutdown, and that contributed to last night's election results. Is it time for him to convene congressional leaders here to try to reach a deal to end the shutdown?
No, what it is time is for 5 brave, moderate Democratic senators to come across the aisle, be heroes, and open up the government. That's all it takes. The number, what are you negotiating on? What are you negotiating on?
They're asking for an ACA subsidy.
Yeah, and for the entire period, it's been open the government and we'll negotiate.
You were inside the court today
as
the Solicitor General was making the argument saying that actually the revenue from tariffs is just incidental. Both you and President Trump have touted how much money has come from the tariffs. So is it the argument that John Sauer made in court today that they are not designed to really generate revenue, or is it what you and President Trump have said outside of the court?
No. I think you're confused, Caitlin. That they are coincident, and I have said many times before that tariffs are a shrinking ice cube. You begin with the tariff income because you put up the tariff wall. The ultimate goal is balance. So we want to bring back manufacturing. So as that happens, tariff income will go down. The income tax receipts domestically will go up. Domestic manufacturing will go up. So the goal is balance.
But the president
You are talking about what the administration has done in terms of cost of living, but when do you think that voters will actually start feeling that? Is it when the tax returns sort of happen next year? Like when do people actually feel the consequences of it?
I think they're already feeling it at the gas pump, and we'll see. We're actually going through a treasury and doing a study on blue state, red state, because a lot of the problems lies with the state governments. When you look, what was the issue in New Jersey? Energy prices. Who did that? Governor Murphy. What's the problem in New York? Energy prices. Who does that? Governor Hochul. So that there are things we can control, and I think we will, and I think 2026 is going to be a gangbuster year. We are already seeing there's affordability and there's wage growth, and we are already seeing much stronger real wage growth for working Americans than we ever did under the Biden administration.
One more. Last week we saw how the president of the United States called the president of Colombia a drug leader, and then he was included in the OFAC list. Could you give us a little more details on that?
No, I can't really do that.
Peter Alexander, one question, Peter. Last question.
Clearly, we're contemplating what would happen if they struck down these tariffs. Are you, or how are you preparing for that contingency?
Well, I just said we're going to cross out. That's your words, not mine, and it's a silly statement, so don't make it. So we are confident. And especially after today, I believe that the Solicitor General made a great case. I actually thought that the two plaintiffs' attorneys, in a way, embarrassed themselves because at one point there was a question. So you believe that the President of the United States has the authority to embargo a country, but does not have the authority to assert a 1% tariff? And the plaintiff's attorney was forced to say yes. So it's completely nonsensical. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Secretary Besser.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
And you were just watching Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent coming back from the oral arguments from the Supreme Court on tariffs, saying that the Solicitor General for the United States made very good arguments, and he said in his words that the other side fell flat. Okay, next. President Trump delivered remarks today at a breakfast with Republican senators. The president commented on yesterday's elections, the government shutdown, and other topics.
And last night, it was, not expected to be a victory. It was very Democrat areas, but I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody. But we had an interesting evening, and we learned a lot, and we're going to talk about that. But I thought we'd have a discussion after the press leaves about what last night represented and what we should do about it, and also about the shutdown and how that relates to last night. I think if you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans, and that was a big factor.
Trump said he didn't feel Democrats are really getting the blame for what he called the disastrous Democrat-created government shutdown, now officially the longest in American history.
It's time for Republicans to do what they have to do, and that's terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it. And if you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be in bad shape. We won't pass any legislation. There'll be no legislation passed for 3.25. We have 3.25 years, so that's a long time. If I thought that they weren't going to pass the filibuster, I wouldn't even bring it up. They're going to pass it within the first hour. If they take power, and it's more likely that they take power if we don't do it, because we're not going to be passing any legislation. They're not going to approve anything. We're going to go 3.25 years. There won't be one bill that we're going to pass, because the easiest thing to pass is exactly right now what they won't pass. And they'll do that, and they'll wreak havoc. But let's assume they get in. They're doing it anyway, so it wouldn't matter. They're doing it anyway.
Trump also criticized mail-in voting, calling it prone to corruption, and he took issue with blue slip rules that let senators block his U.S. attorney nominations. Trump said his administration's tax cuts and job growth prove Republicans can deliver results if they can move legislation without obstruction. The president also recalled an incident from his meeting with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping in South Korea last week.
So he's here, and he's got about 6 people on each side, and every one of those people was standing like this. They were at attention. And I made a comment to one of them, and I got no response. I said, "Are you going to answer me?" I got no response. And President Xi didn't let him have any. So if there's any question, I said, I want my cabinet to behave like that. That's the way. I'm demanding that I want them sitting up like that, Tim, just nice and straight. I never saw posture like that. I've never seen men so scared in their lives. They have the equivalent of a vice president. He was. I said, "Are you going to answer my question?" And he's like, he doesn't move. I said, "What's wrong with this guy?" "I will answer all questions."
Trump was explaining how he tried talking to Chinese officials while they stood next to Xi Jinping and got no response. He made the room laugh, as you just heard, by saying Next, that Vice President J.D. Vance does not behave like that and budges into conversations.
The election results for New York City mayor are in. NTD Sean Marshall spoke with people in Manhattan about their post-election wishes and expectations.
A new mayor has been elected to office for New York City. He's made quite a number of promises. But what do the people on the streets want him to really tackle on his first day in office?
The buses. Making the buses free and fair. Because if the buses are free, then they'll run on time a lot better and also faster as well, because people aren't caught up trying to pay the fare for the buses.
The first thing he really has to do is consolidate his group and determine who will be his staff, who will be his advisors, and which direction he wants to go in initially. These things are very important.
Just more for the homeless people, for real. And the addicts, definitely. And the schools, the kids. So that's about 4 things: housing, youth, addicts, and homeless people.
Given, the SNAP benefits, how to help feed New Yorkers who are struggling right now with food, with housing, with basic needs, making sure that everybody is being taken care of.
I'm going to speak of the minority, because the majority need the health care, need the child care, need the free buses. They need everything this man has proposed. Will it happen right away? Of course not. Will he be embattled and sort of sieged by the establishment that doesn't want this to happen because they're going to lose billions? Of course not. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have the guts and the grit and the backing of the people to make it happen.
With all those changes Mamdani has been planning to implement, nobody totally knows what he plans to do yet. There's sure to be a ton of opposition for any policies he may try to implement.
It's always a disagree. It's always people that's going to disagree, and it's always going to be people that agree. So I feel like there's going to be that regardless of the rules and the things that he implements.
It is so stressful right now to be in politics that I'm sure everybody's going to want to disagree with something. It is so hard to please everyone. In New York, the beautiful thing about New York is all of its diversity. That is a lot of people to represent.
I mean, we have to wait and see because he's just been elected. I'm not necessarily sure yet, but what does come to mind is maybe the police, the NYPD. What reforms that he's able to pass, I'm hoping that he is able to ensure that there is like another entity to help with people who are homeless or people with mental illnesses, just so that they don't have to deal with the police first.
And we're going to take a quick break now. We'll be back with more news and NTD Evening News as at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.